Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. If, well, you're hearing us, hopefully you're in the midst of 61 and sunny. We're kind of cloudy now, but dust the grill off, man. Enjoy it, as it's been a crazy January. Case in point, your last 2 weekends of NFL action. And Mighty Joe and the Zac attack headed to the Super Bowl. Some thoughts on what happened in Arrowhead and what Cincinnati was able to do and what Kansas City didn't do. Tom Brady, is he or isn't he? We'll check in with a Tom Brady aficionado and teammate and friend of the show, former Husker standout Russ Hochstein, going to be with us at 5:25. Mr. Blackshirt himself, Charlie McBride, another Monday with Charlie. His coach will do his weekly sit-down with us, all things football and, of course, some recruiting. Greg Smith in 20 minutes. You can join us, can dial us up, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825 5865. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Give us a follow. Find us on Twitter, Chris Schmidt at Schmidt_radio, or Elijah Herbel at Herbal Essence for Elijah. Good Twitter follow there. And listen, so my Sunday was pretty awesome. Went over to some friend's house. Jay Bird fired up the old pulled pork on the smoker. His wife, Jilly, was all over her DraftKings. I love this. She's like, well, it's only $4, but she's like, a little action keeps me interested in football. So she was setting her lineup for first and second half, and we all kind of looked at each other like, this thing's over, right? How and when does Kansas City, turn their white pants yellow? When does that happen? Never is the answer until yesterday. Until about a minute left in the first half, when greed isn't always good. Wall Street's a great movie. Michael Douglas and Gordon Gekko. The greed speech, only rivaled by Al Pacino and Son of a Woman, right? And Kansas City got greedy. Kansas City gets too cute for their own good in the red zone, and the Chiefs have been able to overcome, pretty much too big to fail with their offense, with their quarterback, with their weapons, with their play calling, and with their new and improved defense with a pass rush. What happened? Well, Burrow was able to escape when there was pressure and hit guys downfield. There was a T. Higgins sighting. You kept running the football with that stretch zone with Mixon. The team that has been here 4 straight times. Am I off? No, I'm not. 4 straight AFC championships. Working on a third consecutive Super Bowl. Up 21-3. Got in their own head. And there's criticism out there, old Big Red. Not football, but Andy Reid. I like Andy Reid. Any dude that can go to 8 conference championship games is an amazing coach. Any guy that can get to 3 Super Bowls knows what he's doing. But I just wonder, and they survived it against Buffalo, right? You think back to the third quarter, might have been early part of the fourth quarter, but you have this wildcat formation where you're running some option, right? Blake Bill gets under center, runs a little option. Buffalo snuffs it out. You're forced to kick a field goal. Buffalo goes down and score. Kansas City, because of excellence, able to to survive and win probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, playoff game ever. Fast forward to this weekend, you're up 21-3. You get too greedy. You throw a swing pass to Hill. He doesn't get out of bounds. You waste 3 points. And I understand that 3 points aren't going to win you ball games. You need to get 7. But you're up. You're up by 11. Why not go into halftime up 14? And then it just started off. It gave Cincinnati life. It gave them some belief. It gave them a gasp of air as you've been waterboarding them for a first half. And Cincinnati started to go a little Ted Lasso, started to believe. A couple of 3-and-outs, you get a pick. And Cincinnati kept chopping wood. They didn't panic. They didn't go air assault. They kept running on first down. What's quite amazing is the fact that it was 2nd and 9, and they were able to do enough to make it 3rd and manageable. And Joe Burrow, living up to that Joe Cool 2.0 nickname that was reserved for the likes of Montana. Joe's still got to go win a championship. And, as a Nebraska guy, I hope Zach and Joe do it. The Rams are fun and nice, but I always kind of secretly root for the Nebraska connections, right? And I think most of the states wearing orange today. And it ain't hunting season because of it. I look at the implosion, and I just wonder if Kansas City will be the same. And I know that's hyperbole, but think about it, man. I mean, what's their window like? What's their window look like when you have some of the understudies that want to go get paid? The Pringles of the world that are phenomenal, and they're matchup nightmares, and they're a combination of power and speed on top of your studs, right? I mean, you've got Kelsey, you've got Hill, you got Mahomes, you got a good running game. It's always worked, and it didn't. And what Cincinnati did is they said, all right, we're getting carved up. I mean, Mahomes is 11 for 12 the first 3 drives with touchdowns and 100.5 on us. The way they spread you out, they check it down for 9 every play. It was clinical. It was surgical. And then Cincinnati said, well, screw it. We're dying this way. Let's try something new. And they went into a 3-1-7 defense where they dropped some of their best pass rushers to at least chip and stay in the vicinity of Kelsey. They'd spy Mahomes on a second level. The 3 down linemen gave her hell with kind of a mush rush with Mahomes and his mobility. And then with those number of guys dropped back, you're able to double Kelsey and Hill. And then Patrick tried to just get to the sideline too much. I mean, there was just no rhythm, and they were going too high safety. And I'm not Mr. Football X's and O, but you do the math game. And what made Kansas City too big to fail, in my mind, is the fact that they turned into a patient offense. And if they had the numbers, they'd do the old shotgun handoff. They'd run it. They became a running football team. And they were okay with it. They were okay methodically holding on to the football the last half of the season and just running off 7 plays, 80 yards, 6 minutes a clock. So when you have an explosive offense that can also go ball control, good luck stopping that unless they stop themselves. Part of it was their play calling. Part of it was their ego. Part of it was Cincinnati getting after it in the secondary, being more physical, and then getting after the quarterback and getting a decent amount of pressure with just 3, with nowhere to go for Mahomes, no safety valve, no easy throw. They took away the crossing routes, and they took away some of those passing lanes. And that was what Cincinnati executed. You can try it, and Kansas City can still carve you up because they're that good. But, man, momentum's such a powerful thing in the world of sports. And you saw it flip with about 90 seconds left in the first half. Cincinnati came out, got a stop, got a score, and just kept after it. And then made the plays when they had to with the touchdown and the 2-point conversion to tie it. And then Elijah, you have 90 seconds, you're at the 5, and it's like, well, I don't want to score too quick. Instead of worrying about the defense when the defense had to come up with a stop on Burrow and company, just go get the touchdown. And why, for the life of me, if you're in the red zone, isn't Kelsey in on every single down? He wasn't on that second down. Yeah, back-to-back sacks. And your ace is Butker because he's incredible. And, yeah, he sent it to overtime. But Kansas City just got in their own head again. And I just wonder if it's a situation where is Kansas City going to be a playoff team next year? Yeah. Are they going to be bent on revenge, righting this wrong, or does it start slipping away? Is the era what we just saw, and 1 for 2 in Super Bowls and AFC championships? Is it done? Is Buffalo next up? Is Cincinnati going to stay on top of the AFC? I think it's that half of the conference is too good and too full of quarterbacks. That's how dominant Kansas City's been. Look at everyone else rising up, right? I know New England's a playoff team, but look at Kansas City's last 3 years, the leads they've overcome, the turnovers they've overcome, the ability to just flat out outscore people. The last 2 postseasons, it's felt like Kansas City's been down 20-7, and they've erupted because of their incredible skill and talent. But it finally caught up with them with some of their indecision, some of their bad decision-making, and then you had a defense just get hot. Cincinnati's defense is barely in the top 20 of the NFL. They've got some good players. They invested in the offseason defensively to go with Burrow. And of course, you land a gold card in Chase. But the offensive line's a nightmare. They didn't sack maybe once. They just once, and then they hurried. They hurried Burrow a few times, but for the most part, he got out of it and made throws. That's what's been incredible about Burrow, is he's had so much pressure. He's not had too many wide and out of the strike zone throws. He's made a lot of money throws in tough situations. That's a credit to his greatness and how special he is. But man, what a ball game by Cincy, and what a comeback by Cincinnati, tied for the most points. They trailed and came back. You have to go back to that incredible Colts comeback on New England in the 06 AFC Championship game. Couldn't believe what I saw, but I thought it was really cool to see Zach and Joe Burrow do their thing, along with just seeing a team not panic, make an adjustment, and then go execute it.
And I think my biggest takeaway from yesterday was that the Chiefs' offense is fine. And I know there's going to be talk about the increased cap hit that Patrick Mahomes is going to have this season, but really the Chiefs are going to have to rebuild their defense this offseason anyway, because in the past 4 years, they've been let down by their defense 3 times. First against Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game. Then they won the Super Bowl, did fine, but then they got let down in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, and now their defense has let them down again against Cincinnati, just letting them back into their game. I know the offense probably could have put up a few more points in the second half.
Well,
the offense
you can't get shut out.
The offense is going to have the headlines for their second half performance, but the defense was getting turned to Swiss cheese in the second half as well.
Fair. No, the defense needed to step up when the offense, but the point is your bread and butter is your offense, and because of ego, we're too good to take 3 points. 14-point lead going into half, much different feel. You probably have a little bit of momentum if you're Cincy, holding them to 3. But to keep them out of the end zone and then go get a stop and then go get an interception and rattle Mahomes like that, who'd have thought? Just Cincinnati, just those in the locker room.
And the resilience, before we move on, of the Bengals to fight back after one of the heart and soul guys of their offense, Uzama, went down. He's a guy that was just a big presence on the sideline. He goes down, and they still battle back after that. Full credit to the Bengals. Just incredible work by Zac Taylor.
We'll dive into recruiting here. How did the visit weekend go? Greg Smith with us, Nebraska basketball. I didn't see the first half. We were doing Southwest and Central, the boys' game. Great effort by Southwest girls. They were incredible. They knocked off number 2 Central. The boys and Coach Baugh and company right there with Central. Couldn't quite close the deal, but great ball game to cover. We're thankful for that opportunity. But I saw the second half of Nebraska having a cold one, and you just felt like, well, Can they hang on? Can they hang on? They led for 37 minutes and change. And no, they couldn't hang on because of, well, offensive rebounding and the way they closed both halves. Fred Hoiberg Saturday after the loss.
Well, I don't think it was a lack of execution. It was just a lack of, going in there. They made plays on the ball. They blocked 2 shots. The out of bounds play, they sandwiched our inbounder, made a good play on that. The next one, Bryce came off, got double teamed a little bit. Give Rutgers credit on a lot of that defensively. But again, Bryce had a lot of success with the ball in the middle of the floor, and we want to continue to get him those opportunities. And they made the plays down the stretch. We didn't.
Kudos to Bryce McGowan. He is adjusted to the Big Ten. We'll hear more from Hoiberg here in 20 minutes. And I know most of you are like, hey, it's Nebraska basketball. Sorry, don't care. They're 0-10 in conference play. But they have found different ways to lose. Sometimes they're blown out. Sometimes they don't do the little things all of the time, at least in conference play. They've not done the little things enough to win. And then in this instance, they came out, they responded after a lull or two. And what you're seeing here is maturation by Bryce McGowan. He is playing really good basketball. He's taking better shots. He's getting to the line. And right now, instead of advertising a 5-star stud that's going to go to the NBA, it's an advertisement of what happens when you're a 5-star and you come to Nebraska and there's bad chemistry. You're wasting an opportunity and a performance. Hello, listener. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we do. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Coming up, we'll check in with Charlie McBride. A Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We say hi to recruiting insider Greg Smith. At Greg Smith HV on Twitter. The Straight Up Breakdown podcast will drop. Must listen to Greg anyway this week. Greg, what do you know? How are you?
I am very well. Trying to get the grill fired up today.
Yes.
With this nice weather.
See, that's what I did to open the show before we dove into Kansas City, Cincinnati. I said, wherever you're hearing us, man, there's a good chance that it's 60 and money outside. So get the grill going. I made the mistake of I've tried to eat more fish, right? And that fish being ahi tuna because I'm a snob. And, you can go pay for it $20 at a sweet restaurant, or you can get the filet here in town. And it's just 2 minutes each side. It's perfect medium. It's wonderful. But I tried doing it in the air fryer when it was one of those teen days, about 12 degrees outside. So not only did I blow up the living room with the smell of ahi tuna, which is a no-no, but it just ain't the same. And I even set it on grill. My air fryer's got a grill setting. But no, today is absolutely go grill and dust it off. What are you doing for us? Are you, I should say, if we surprise you.
No, and so first of all, we got to talk about this because I have a honey glazed salmon air fryer recipe for you. That's money, but on the grill. If salmon was money, yes, you would. It is. I'm telling you, I hated it. I didn't eat it before this, and now I kind of enjoy it. I've had it 3 times in 2 weeks. Burgers and pork chops are on the menu for today.
Ooh, boom. Pork chops and burgers, that is the ultimate first or second down call. I like it. So Greg is feeding the neighborhood. Pork chops and burgers, that's the way to go. Talk to me a little bit here about this weekend here, another junior day for the Big Red. Signing day is Wednesday. let's start with some of the prospects that kind of piqued your interest that were in town this weekend.
Yeah, there were a handful of guys, maybe more than that were really interesting this weekend. I think kind of led by 2023 Iowa quarterback J.J. Cole. 6'6", 220 is about what he goes out of Iowa. More of a pocket passing guy, but can throw on the run. As he's really shot up Nebraska's board here since Mark Whipple has come aboard. But Nebraska knew about him before that because he was in Lincoln for their 7-on-7 camp, and his team won that this past summer. Talked to him. He had a really good visit and had a good time doing film study with Mark Whipple and learning some more about the future offense. And then there were a couple of guys that are known to Nebraska fans already that were back in town, and every time they're in town, it's notable. Caleb Benning, 2024 defensive back out of Omaha West Side, 2024 Bellevue West wide receiver Davon Hall, and then also 2024 defensive back Mario Buford, whose brother is on the team currently. You get that trio going for the 24 class, and you've got a nice start to that as well.
You do, and Nebraska's really concentrated on the 500-mile radius, 35 offers out in Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Colorado, and, of course, in-state for 2023, and then looking to 2024. Love that emphasis. I think there's a lot of talent around here, clearly, that everyone else has gotten in on.
Right.
Nebraska's re-emphasized the 500-mile radius, and that's big with Coach Bush and Joseph. I want to go back to the quarterbacks here. J.J. Cole's from Des Moines. Avery Johnson's out of kind of northern Wichita, Mays, Kansas. What is your take based on film with these kids? What do you like about Cole? What do you like about Johnson?
Yeah, what I like about Cole is he really looks like a traditional classic Big Ten quarterback, big, strong kid that's got a really good arm, can push the ball down the field, comes from a good family. Obviously, his dad with the kicking academy, so he's got football in the family. Johnson, the thing that I really like about him, he's a multi-sport athlete that really, I think, is just scratching the surface of his potential. And that's not to say he's like an under-the-radar recruit at all, because he's not. He's a borderline four-star kid. He's got a lot of teams in the region and beyond after him. Arkansas is really in the mix, and I think he was there this past weekend. But both of them, there's a lot to like about both of those two kids, and I really think at this point that those are the two at the top of the board for Nebraska's 2023 quarterback list, which has kind of been reshaped here over the last couple of weeks.
If you had to give me a take, is Nebraska in on Cole early enough? Are they too late with Johnson or no?
I think that they're in early enough on Cole, and I think that they really have his attention. Penn State offered him this weekend as well, so he's got a number of quality schools after him. I'm curious on Johnson on whether or not Nebraska is too little, too late. If they've been able to make up that ground, I know they've been out to see him, I think 3 times during this contact period, basically as much as they possibly could, including a Scott Frost visit out to his school. So they're trying hard, but that one's going to be tough to crack into.
What do you chalk up some of the, I don't want to say mismanagement, but why do you think Nebraska's now trying to make up ground on an Avery Johnson when he's 5 hours away?
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's another guy in Kansas, out of Derby, Kansas, same high school as Alice Kahn, who's currently on the team at offensive line. Dylan Edwards is a running back, and he just recently got his offer from Nebraska. Same with Johnson. I just think that there was something kind of missing with Nebraska's recruiting strategy and kind of what we were seeing from some of the assistants that are no longer here. It's just tough to understand why, say, Kansas, Missouri in particular, those two states, Texas even, we've seen a lot of Texas offers go out here with Brian Applewhite. Those states should probably always be a focus for Nebraska staff, no matter who's on the staff. So seeing that intensity pick up is good, but at the same time, it does leave you scratching your head.
Greg, I want to touch on the signing day coming up here in just a few days. A.J. Allen seems to be a guy that is picking up a lot of momentum. I know a lot of people predicting that he's going to be in the boat for Nebraska. These are their names to watch, or is it just A.J. Allen?
This is one of the weirdest signing days that you're going to see, I think, as you're really focused on just that one name with A.J. Allen, Louisiana running back, who is technically still committed to TCU. He committed to Brian Applewhite. Either way, I'd be surprised if he ends up at TCU. Mississippi State is also in the mix here for his services. But no, he's about it, unless there's some sort of big surprise that I just have no idea about. I think Allen's the only guy in the mix.
Portal has been a focus, and Nebraska's done well in the portal. Any surprises portal-wise that could happen here by Wednesday?
I don't think so. I think that with the class, with where we are with the class calendar and the semester starting, and it's been at least a week into the semester, I think we're past the cutoff on that. I do think that that's going to be a big storyline still, though, once we get past spring ball. And I think Nebraska has a handful of positions that they're still looking at trying to get somebody in for, and you'll have a better idea of what the roster looks like once you go through spring ball and all these new coaches can work hands-on with guys.
Yeah, Greg, defensive line is one of those spots where it feels like Nebraska had a few swings and misses during the early portal period, if you will. And now we've learned over the weekend that Jordan Riley's officially transferring to Oregon. Do you think defensive line is a spot where Nebraska's going to be working pretty hard this spring to get some more transfer portal additions in?
Yeah, 100%. I think they're going to have to. The Riley news, you really think about it, there hasn't been a ton of great news for Nebraska's defensive line this offseason. Or you lose your coach, you lose a couple of guys to the portal, you lose a couple of guys to the early entry in the NFL draft, and we'll kind of see where they land. And they could have potentially come back in DeAndre Thomas and Damian Daniels. And then, like you said, you have a couple of swings and misses in the portal. I definitely think Nebraska needs to go ahead and continue to add. I think you're at this point, you have two defensive linemen, Ty Robinson and Casey Rogers, that you feel really good about, and then you got a whole bunch of question marks. Nebraska needs a guy or two, I think, out of the portal at that position.
What are you putting odds down for with Damian and D-Train? Do they come back? Do they grad transfer or one-time transfer? Do they stick it out and try and make a roster? What do you think?
I think they're both going to try to stick it out and make a roster. We'll see. It's going to be a real uphill battle. It's nothing against them. It's just that when you don't have a combine invite, as we've seen with other guys right here in recent history, like it becomes really difficult for you to get on. So we'll see. But I think that they'll both probably try to stick it out and see if they can make a roster.
Greg Smith with us, recruiting insider, HailVarsity.com and magazine. Can follow him on Twitter at GregSmithHV. So recruiting is been pretty good. Nebraska's had a number of kids in. We've highlighted the Bush, Joseph, Applewhite trio of just kind of their intensity, their connections, the fact that they're always all over the trail. Two names to get from you. You have the Bama kid, the Jaquiz. Bucks or Bullocks?
Yes.
Bucks?
Yep.
Okay, look, man, I got that right the first time. Tell me about Bucks real quick here, and then William Nazari. Arkansas, Iowa State, Iowa, looking at him. Those are a couple of kids, I think 2024, but they were big in this weekend. They're two good-sized defensive linemen.
Yeah, I think Bucks is both of them are really interesting. Bucks is more of kind of a guy on the defensive line that can play all three positions for you, and I think that he's under the radar at this point. And Nebraska did a really good job of getting out in front and having him on campus. I talked to him briefly via message over the weekend, and he really liked what he saw and told me that if he can get an opportunity to do so, he's going to come back to Nebraska. So I would really watch for him this summer and spring to blow up. And then Nawari, I think that he's a kid that Nebraska is going to continue to try to hammer home, right? I think he's out of Lee Summit out in Missouri, and he was one of a handful of kids from this weekend that was up here from that school. That's one of those hotspot schools outside of Kansas City, and Nebraska working hard to kind of get back into there. I think they're smart to start kind of with those 24 kids so they can have a long runway. But he's more of an edge rusher, 6'5", 235 or so, who can put on some weight and continue to be that pass rush specialist that Nebraska desperately needs. But I think they did a good job of getting in early with some of the schools that have already offered him.
About 30 seconds. Last thought here on the D-line, DJ Chester. He's out of Georgia, and his offer list is, well, look, you got Mario in Miami, you got LSU. I hope there's no videos with Chester and BK, and then you got the Pirate, of course. But Nebraska, they stand okay with Chester?
Yeah, he's from the same high school as Marquise Black, the current defensive lineman that Nebraska has. I know some other guys Nebraska's recruited from that school and was right in the mix for, like him. And it's so interesting you say about his offer list, is you look up and you're like, man, Nebraska got in early, and then you realize that all of these Southern powers have already offered him because these kids just never go unnoticed or very rarely down there. But he's a good player. Nebraska hopes to continue to position themselves to land him.
Greg, have a good week. Send us a picture of the burger and pork chops as you get Greg's grill going, and we'll talk here possibly on Wednesday. Thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to change your mind on that salmon.
Hello, listener. This is Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce, 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Greg Smith. The full recon posted on Hail Varsity's podcast section, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. The show will be up a little bit after 6 today. ESPNLincoln.com, and of course the Twitter handle at ESPN Lincoln. Elijah will have that up there. Good stuff from Greg on the quarterbacks, on the defensive line here for the future, and what to expect Wednesday. Should be a good media session from Coach Frost. We'll have a full replay of that for you when we take to the air Wednesday at 4, and hoping to chat with a couple of the assistants as well. So that on the docket. Numbers to get in, 466-377-6800, 825-5865. You're trying to get through. The first 20 minutes, we're open here till 5, right before Coach McBride. So dial up if you feel like it. So, Elijah, you got your umpiring gear this weekend. You ready for more days like today in the near future for all the baseball you umpire, but you also had a chance to get a sneak peek at some Husker baseball, and I know they get rocking here the 18th of February as the month is just upon us tomorrow. Early impressions, you had a look-see. What'd you think?
Yeah, I don't want to get into too much here because, they may
you will get cattle prodded, and we'll never see or hear from you again as far as practices go.
However, they did not have me sign a non-disclosure agreement, so
that's fine.
Yeah,
no. You want to be able to go back. Overall thought, because I know the concern is what was lost. I know there's talent back, right, with Max and Bryce, and you got Schwelly. But you need to find...
Schwelly's off to the MLB. You got Cam Chick coming back.
Chick, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Schwelly's money, but he's clearly off to MLB. Slip of the mind, my fault. But the point is you need to find arms. And you need to find a Friday night guy. You need to find guys to step up. And there are bodies there. You just don't know, right? You just don't know in that role what can happen. And from your umpire observations.
Well, the first thing that stood out to me was there's a lot of faces I recognized from around high school ball around the city that were playing various different positions. I saw Max Peterson from Southwest out there. You also had, Sartori. Sartori from Lincoln Southwest. I saw him playing out in the outfield. Randazzo is another young guy that I saw playing. So that was the main thing that stood out to me was a lot of local cats, a lot of local flavor on this Husker baseball team with some guys from around the country also sprinkled in. Got to get a chance to get out there and umpire with one Jimmy Moats.
Oh, yeah.
So
really?
He was out there umpiring with me on Saturday, and he had a good conversation with C.J. Hood, who had the day off on Saturday.
Jimmy, the coach, is also umping.
Yeah, apparently that's his summer gig whenever he is done with school and done coaching basketball. He gets out and umpires some baseball around southeast Nebraska. So, got to see a lot of people out there. Colby Gomes in action. It looks like he's going to be back this season.
Doing all right? We're just getting back.
He's getting back, and it was just good to see him back out there after a year-long layoff. So I'm excited for what this Husker baseball team can be, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to follow them this season.
No, they'll be good.
And the impact of Rob Childress was immediately noticeable. He was out there coaching up all his pitchers all day and giving some stick to the umps whenever the strike zone was a little bit tight. So I think that Rob Childress impact will be huge this season.
You gotta love Coach Childress, and he's big time, wonderful addition. And yeah, Nebraska baseball, I can't wait to be back from Omaha, right, when we get there in June for the CWS. And we'll see if Nebraska makes another run. I know that's lofty expectation, but that's what is the goal in their own clubhouse. You know it is. You know it's another Big Ten title. You know it's a deep run in regional and super regional, and the ultimate goal is getting to Omaha in June. And we'll see if Nebraska can make that happen.
One thing I will say is we'll see if this year's hitting is a little bit different. I did see a good number of home runs on Saturday.
So some more power?
We'll see about that. Din Hartog was where the scrimmage was on Saturday, and that's can be a bit of a wind tunnel at times, and it's got some shorter, smaller outfields.
So the wind's blowing out and a shorter porch.
Yes.
Okay.
So did see a couple home runs, and that was encouraging to see because who doesn't love the long ball? Chicks dig the long ball.
They do, and it's still a great commercial. So we get into this theme today of crunch time and management, and when it's cutting time, how do you respond? How do you finish? Nebraska basketball didn't. The final 342, just 3 points against Rutgers. You do all that work. You have a couple of runs. You respond. You get a career-high tying 29 from Bryce, and it just was no good. Fred, after the game, on clearly what happened with Nebraska, that final 320.
You know, obviously a very difficult stretch for us. They made some good plays on drives to the basket. Got the ball in the middle of the floor. We had some success with middle pick and roll. Found Derek on one, which got Trey the open three in the corner. I think there's about 4.5 minutes left to hit that one. Unfortunately, that was our last basket, going down the stretch. So, just got to find a way to finish one of these games to get the confidence to know we can do it. We did a lot of good things out there to give ourselves a chance to win a game when we shot under 30%. So defensively, I thought it was our best effort of the season. I thought rebounding, McKay got a big one, obviously down the stretch, but held this team to 8 offensive rebounds. This is a team that manhandled us a couple weeks ago in New Jersey. So, got to find a way to get one of these. End of the first, end of the second were the things that cost us in this game.
So you had Kobe Webster get the start, and Verge was out, but Verge was still there supporting his teammates, and you feel horrible for Verge. Had a loss in his family right before the ball game is what it sounds like, and that sucks for anybody. That sucks for that young man, and you're thinking of him and his family right now with his loss. Kobe got an opportunity. Kobe's always a guy that's going to play hard. Kobe's always a guy that is going to be able to facilitate. I mean, he's not always looking to score. He has kind of been a scorer, but he wasn't Saturday. Tough night for him, 0 for 10. And it came down to him trying to tie things as he did draw a foul with 9/10 left in the ball game.
Can we put foul in air quotes though? That was
it was a ghost foul, but still you at least you got the call at home to give yourself a chance to send it to overtime, but it wasn't to be, and he felt awful about it.
Listen, this is on everybody. This isn't on Kobe. This is on me. It's on every player, that's part of this program. And Kobe did a lot of really good things out there for us, getting us into actions, getting us into sets and the start. And, unfortunately, it was just one of those nights, which all of us that have played this game have had. And, told them in the locker room, keep your head up. Did a lot of good things out there. Generally in games like this, it's not all about the last play. It's obviously magnified, but, there's plenty of mistakes throughout the course of the game. Unfortunately, listen, our guys did enough to win. with their effort, with their energy. Trey's block and transition, CJ following it up, getting the deflection. We did enough energy things, to deserve that win. Unfortunately, it just didn't go our way at the end.
It didn't, and Kobe did other things to try and help the team. Didn't let his offense affect the rest of his contributions. But if he's going to get the start, he's got to do better than 0 for 10. He knows that. See if he bounces back against Michigan.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
10 minutes away, we'll check in with Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride. A Monday with Charlie. Get Coach's take on Burrow, the Bengals, Zac Taylor, and spring ball. I think we're under 70 days away from the spring game. And winter conditioning happening, and then we'll get some spring ball started up here in the near future, end of February, which will be good. So Coach McBride's thoughts on that. And then Russ Hochstein, 12 years in the NFL, played with the Chiefs, played with the Donks, but 7 years with the Patriots and 2 Super Bowls, back-to-back championships, really close with Tom Brady. So what does Russ think about Brady? Is he retiring? Is he still weighing on it? Does Giselle say no more football for you? What's going on? We'll get Russ's take. A reminder to get buckled up. Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Sober drivers are the only choice. A DUI costs more than you think. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. So let's hear from Zac Taylor. Let's hear from Joe Burrow. And this is Zac specifically here on what flipped the momentum, the end of that first half where Casey got the goose egg, didn't even get the 3.
That happened against Jacksonville earlier in the season. The people who've watched us, we were down by 2 scores. They went for it. Our defense got a stop going into halftime on the goal line and prevented a 3-score lead. And so we've got that stuff in our memory bank. So when our defense makes that play and we're down 11, just like we were 4 or 5 weeks ago against the Chiefs, 11 going into halftime, we knew that we were going to be able to go win that game.
So, again, shot of confidence. Hey, you've done it before. You guys can do it again. Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville and Urban Meyer, and the scene from Tommy Boy where Chris Farley has the vehicle on fire. Here comes the meat wagon. That's Jacksonville. But the point is you prevented a 3-score deficit, and okay, hey, we'll make it work. But what made it work was Joe Burrow, how good he was in the second half. Not an insane passer rating, but listen, survived an interception that was a tipped ball, got out of some trouble, made incredible throws. Again, more from Zac Taylor on Burrow.
When the game's on the line, he's going to figure it out, whether it's with his feet or extending plays. He kind of made a comment last night. He's going to try to rush for 100 yards, and I don't know how many yards he ran for, but he sure took off there in the fourth quarter and made some huge plays with his feet. And that comment he made last night in our quarterback meeting kind of registered with me that, he realized he didn't have enough yards rushing again. He's going to try to get them all in the fourth quarter. So he just finds a way to make plays when there isn't a play to be made. Makes my life much easier. There doesn't have to be the perfect play call. He's going to figure it out.
He does. He gets it done. Now, true or false, and I enjoyed the Rock's tweet. 2 guys with turtlenecks and wearing some jewelry. The difference is Rock's like, look, I'm wearing a fanny pack and had a brutal haircut. Joe Cool looked all right. Would you rock that type of chain? Elijah, is that your style to just go all in on real diamonds because, you'd make too much money for it to be fake?
See, I feel like whenever you're an starting NFL quarterback who's going to the Super Bowl, you can rock whatever you want. Would I wear it, like, with me in my current life? No. If I'm going to the Super Bowl, probably. I mean, because
Joe's he's kind of accepted it. He's got the swag, and I think the rest of his teammates kind of grin at the bling, right? We'll dive into hour 2. Coach McBride next on Hail Varsity. Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for your time. It's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. What is the reality with Tom Brady? Retired, still playing on a Italian vacation, probably. Russ Hochstein, dear friend of Tom Brady and standout Husker offensive lineman, coming up in 25 minutes. Get his take. They were teammates and won a couple of rings in New England. We turn our attention and say hi to Charlie McBride, Mr. Blackshirt, a Monday with Charlie. Coach, another great weekend of football. How you doing?
Yeah, it was very, very. It was good. Maybe not quite as crazy as we saw the week before, but it was. Good football. I mean, not a whole lot of penalties, and it was just a good deal. I watched it. Everybody I think was in the back of their hearts for a little bit, for Cincinnati, and it worked out. You could kind of tell the way it ended, how the interception was made. If you looked at it, it was one of those things that bounced off a few guys and right into the guy's hands, and so you knew they were a snake bit, and they were going to win the game. But when they go into overtime, it's how even everybody was. Mm-hmm. I mean, winning with kicks and winning with overtimes and stuff like that. So it made it a lot better. I think they were all good games.
Charlie McBride's with us. Coach, it was an incredible effort defensively by Cincinnati to shut down that Chiefs offense, because it looked too easy, man. It looked way too easy, and Kansas City's that good. The first drive, 3 drives of the game, it's 21-3 before you could blink, and you're like, this is going sideways. Better go get another beer. And Cincinnati was able to kind of regroup, and they only rushed 3. They were able to get some pressure, stay in their rush lanes, and also double cover some of those weapons. Tell me what you thought of the defensive effort, and also remind you of anything you ever did as far as making a change and getting after a team.
Well, I think the biggest thing was the mindset after they got 21-3 was probably a little bit, not good for them. They lost a little bit of their focus, I think. And then you go in at halftime and you're thinking, oh, this is, we're going to get this done, and you just you're on the wrong wavelength for what you need to be in a game like that. And Cincinnati is young, and they just know they're young, and they just want to play, and they give it all they got, and that's all it took, And when you really look at it, maybe Kansas City as a team is maybe a little better, but I think you're going to see Cincinnati really start to move it, because if they have a good draft and everything, they'll really be trouble.
They're ahead of schedule. I mean, they were 2-14, and then 4-11-1 with a quarterback who, I think, Joe blew his knee out and rushed, and really recovered that ACL MCL deal, and he's playing confident. But they're supposed to maybe be around 500, right? And there was talk about Zach not being back.
Yep.
after last year. But wait till they get good, right?
That's right. Well, I think, it goes back to the leadership, and it goes back, I think, Burrow's a good leader. I think he's not a guy that goes off the air in any way, and I think you're looking at a lot of the good quarterbacks are that way. The ones that are good are pretty calm and collected, and nothing seems to bother him. And that's what the only time I've ever seen, say, Brady get worked up is when he gets mad at his offensive lineman. Once in a while you'll see him on the sideline. And I'm sure that as Burrow gets going, he's probably going to do the same. But he's got the right temperament, for the NFL, and I think his consistency is probably going to be good as long as he can keep him in one piece.
That's true. They got to get better on that O-line, but it was good enough against the Chiefs. Charlie McBride with us. Coach, do you know Joe? Do you know Jimmy? Do you know Jamie? Do you know the Burrow? Do you know the Burrow family pretty well?
Jamie and Jamie and his dad, I know the father pretty good. I mean, he's been back to Lincoln way from the time I was there, on and off all the time, and then Jamie played for us, and and I think Joe was really thinking of coming to Nebraska at one time, and then I think Tom was truthful with him, and he felt like it might be better on the other side of the fence, and that's what I think happens, and it happened for the best, because he found out that he goes through spring ball number 1 and number 2 years in a row, and then ends up being, all of a sudden he gets back to summer and he's number 2 right away, and that didn't work very good for his competitiveness, and so he made the move to LSU and paid off.
I'd say it really paid off down there, and Ohio State. There was a little window between the Nebraska stuff's been well documented, but there was a window there where Burrow could have seized the gig at Ohio State. They went with another guy. This was before Ohio State went on a title run, and Burrow transferred down, and by year 2 at LSU was incredible. This was before Fields, right, at Ohio State. So,
right. It just seemed, I tell you, the funny thing too is, you can go back. When you go to, you're going to find, if you really know Oklahoma at all, you're going to find out that there's been some guys that have been the number 1 quarterback during the spring, and Barry's going to go to the eye and telling them this and that, and in the fall comes, they get the ball taken away from them, and they give it to somebody else and run the wishbone, and some of them aren't cut out for it. And I think a couple of them, as I remember, through the years have transferred and and gone on and done well.
Sure.
And so I think with this portal thing is, it may be good for the players and bad for the teams. It's kind of a thing that I think in the long run, I remember, I think it was, I was listening to Lou Holtz talk one time, and Lou's pretty profound and is really, he knows a lot about football. He knows a lot about the game itself. And one of the questions I think they asked him one time was, what's the difference in players nowadays and 20 years ago, 30 years ago? And he said, well, 30 years ago, he said, it was obligation and responsibility. Now it's rights and privileges. And I think that's the sad part about it. I think, it's not like the old days. I think, as you remember, maybe you don't, I do, when the war was going on in the Second World War, how many baseball players walked off the baseball field and ended up going in the military. You wouldn't find that now in a million years.
Well, I think Ted Williams, where Ted missed 3 years, DiMaggio missed 3-4 years, and then Ted went and did Korea. I mean, so
he was a pilot.
Yeah, no, he was a pilot, and there was 2 tours. He was World War II, but he was also Korea. Yeah, everybody went back in World War II. I mean, all these Hall of Famers did. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about: obligation and responsibility.
Yeah,
I mean, right now, if you turned around and had to put the draft in, like many of the other countries have, right now you'd have everybody moving somewhere. They don't have the guts to do it. They're going to get out, find a way to get out, just like you find a lot of these senators and people with money and things like that you hear about, that have a way of getting away from things, and which is sad in a bunch of ways. I remember I got drafted, and I was with a bunch of guys. We were all in school, so they let us go back to school. At the time, it was kind of between the Korean War was just getting rolling, and they let us all go back to school. And then they said they'll call us back, and a lot of us did and didn't. And I remember getting my first physical. I had a. In fact, it was funny because they don't fool around. They get their letter 1 week, and the next week you're on a bus. And so we had a whole bunch of guys on the bus from Boulder when I was in school out there, and go down to Denver to the base down there. And I had my knee operated on Monday, and I think the next Thursday I was with a splint on my leg. I was down there getting a physical. So, that's how fast it worked. It didn't work like, we'll call you in a couple of months. We'll call you in 5 minutes, and hand you a gun and tell you, let's go. So,
Coach,
it changed.
No, it has. I want to get a thought here before we'll have another week. It'll feel like a month, but another week to gear up towards the Super Bowl. But what did you like about Zac Taylor? What did you notice about him in Nebraska? And did you think that, he could be something special as a head coach?
I would say yes about a lot of quarterbacks, because they really are, trained by the offensive people to really do things that have to get into the game more than any other position. And this is a thing that I tried to do, and I don't think I did a good enough job at it, but our linebacker coaches did a better job of it, of down and distance responsibilities and learning about teams. And the hard part is just like I think you've heard me say before, if we're playing a team, we don't know what they do, because they got a new coach, they got new defensive coaches and everything, and now we're supposed to open up and play them. Right. That's crazy. And I think Northwestern's got a couple of new guys, and I don't know whether they're coordinators or not, but that's the hard thing about starting a season off. When you start off with a league game, I think it's hard. But I think with Zach, I think there's his mental part of the game. He's a thinker. That's just me looking at him, and he's a guy that distributes his leadership to his coaches and lets them coach.
Charlie, did you see the video of Zac Taylor going to the bars after Cincinnati's first couple postseason wins, handing out game balls? I just want to ask about how that works as a coach and giving back to the community. I mean, you're almost a face of the franchise at that point. I just want to get your opinion on him going out and thanking the fans of Cincinnati for the support.
Well, I think he's a real person. I think that's what people want. I think they want somebody, when you get into towns that are, have people that are, that work their tails off all their lives. Say, if some guy comes in and connects with them, which what I think he did. He's young. He probably had a couple of beers with him, and and things like that. Make him feel comfortable about being around him and stuff like that. You're going to do nothing but help yourself. I mean, especially in the NFL. I think college is a little different, but I think the NFL is I thought they got away from the cigars until
Nope.
until I saw Burrow with a cigar in his mouth. You go back in the days of Bobby Lane and some of those guys who went and got a pack of Chesterfields or a pack of old Camels out and had a couple smokes between and at the halftime, and who knows what they drank.
Smokes on the sideline.
What's the kicker doing? He's lighting up. That's pretty good. Well,
but I think that stuff rubs off on and that's just the way a person is. You have to be yourself.
Yeah.
If you try to be somebody else and you're coaching, you're not going to get her done. You got to be yourself. And I always appreciated Coach Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
He let us coach football, and he let us coach the way we coach. Now, there's some things that don't go, but those are understood. But it was a thing when I went in there, and I remember saying to him right away, if we don't have more group work, I can't work here.
Sure.
I said, I can't teach kids in 15 minutes what to do in a game, a day. And I think a lot of head coaches forget about defense and forget about some of the real things that guys can do. That's why they're there. You're a coach to coach that position. Well, let's coach it. Okay, let's not say you get 5 minutes for this and 2 minutes for that. And that's why I think the NFL has when they have 2 days, guys do exactly the way they want. I need 15 minutes. I need a half hour. I need this. And it all works out.
Charlie McBride with us. Coach, we'll gear up for the Super Bowl next week. How's that sound?
Is it a week after, isn't it?
It is, but I'm saying we'll gear up for the Super Bowl next week.
Whenever we talk to you next.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Who's going to win, though?
We'll make that decision next Monday. I don't know yet.
Okay.
Thanks for being on, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Bye now.
Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. I'm Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce, 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe. Promo code GBR.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Lots of Husker football talk and, of course, NFL and Tom Brady. What is happening with Tom? We bring in great Husker, All-American, and, of course, longtime NFL vet, 2 Super Bowl championships with Brady in Tampa. I should say started in Tampa, but 2 titles with New England. Russ Hochstein with us. Russ, I'm going to be a jerk. You're a Nebraskan, and we can count on one hand, brother, the number of 60-degree January days that exist, and we're probably into double digits now. How are you doing with that nor'easter?
Well, I'm just hoping that when I get to the bottom of my sidewalk from digging out in the trench that I can see the sun at some point. 24 inches later, a lot of back pain and gasoline in your snowblower. I think we're going to make our way through it.
Russ Hochstein with us. So do you not recruit the little ones to help you, or do you like kind of bundling up and removing snow?
Absolutely did I recruit. I made sure they were out there as long as I was, as often as I was. Because on storms like this, as you guys know, it's not just one pass. You don't go clean your driveway off in one pass. It takes two. So I made sure my young sons were out there with shovels, and I got to run the snowblower while they did the manual labor.
Look at that. Just delegating. I love it. Russ Hochstein with us, Super Bowl champ 2 times over with New England. Russ, no official announcement from the Brady camp. You've got guys that have been insiders for a number of years in the NFL reporting, swearing by over the weekend that this is it for Tom Brady. What do you believe, Russ? What do you believe with your friend and old teammate Tom Brady? What do you think?
I'm right down the middle. I'm a mixed bag. I can totally understand Tom's, I'm the same age as Tom and feeling that he's probably getting close to the end, as we all know. There's nothing new about that. But the way it was reported sheds a little shadow on it, because Tom's very controlling on how he gets his message out, and has been for many, many years. So there's a lot of doubt on that side of it too. And I'm kind of surprised everyone's hitching their wagons to one side or the other. If everyone was smart, they just let Tom do his thing, because I've heard he's out of the country, and we probably won't even hear anything from him for a couple weeks on his announcement whether he is going to retire or stay in. I'm guessing the way the game ended last week, that he has a little bad taste in his mouth, and he may want to come back for one more run at it. But we all know things rarely end the way you want them to. So, the guy is amazing. So it's hard to be really angry or upset either way. It'll be a sad day for the NFL if he does decide to go. And all we can say is thank you for all the great memories and awesome moments. And I know he's been a friend of mine, and a lot of guys I've played with, and the guy has done it the right way. So one way or the other, we'll get our answer. But I'm kind of right down the middle. I don't know what's going to happen really at the end of this.
Russ Hochstein with us, Husker standout and a multiple-year NFL vet, 2-time Super Bowl champ, a number of years with New England, part of those championship teams. So, Russ, what was Tom like? Because did you guys come in at the same time? Where did your guys' relationship start? What was he like year one to that final year together?
Well, Tom came in the league a year before I did. So I came in 2001, and I obviously was on different teams. And Tampa Bay is where I was drafted under a then Tony Dungy run team. And then I ended up in 2002 being cut and released from there, and ended up in New England, where I spent the next 7 seasons. So I got to know Tom pretty well over those years. And so Tom had already won the Super Bowl in 2001 and was kind of on his way. Had proven himself as a starting quarterback. And here in 2002, we went 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs that year. So there was a little bit of rattle. But man, the next 2 or 3 years, we went back to back, and you kind of saw the emergence of the great Tom Brady. And personally, on a personal note, Tom's a great guy. Mm-hmm. He's a brother. He's one of those guys that could easily sit down and break bread with you, and believe it or not, probably have a beer with us O-linemen when the time came. But Tom, as his career evolved, kind of went to another level. I mean, I hear people talk about the great basketball players and other athletes that have kind of went to another level, and Tom is certainly one of those, as we can tell from his record and what he's accomplished. But he moved to another level of not only fame, but of success and pressure and all those things that went along with it. But Tom has stayed the same guy that I've always known him to be. And personally, his personality hasn't changed much there. I know a lot of exterior factors have changed around him with his fame, but Tom's a great guy, a brother to me. And, as linemen, we did whatever we could to keep him standing upright, because as long as he was standing upright, you had a chance to win a game.
Russ Hochstein's with us. We're talking about Tom Brady. What is real? Is he retired? Is he going to retire? Does he want another year? We're diving into that. No official word from Brady as we talk with Russ right now. And Russ kind of hinting at the Tom's out of the country because he can. some seclusion's probably in order, and good for him on that. Russ, we'll dive into the Super Bowl here in a little bit and some Husker thoughts as well. What's your take on the dynamic? And I think it takes a special person to thrive and succeed in New England just because of how things are run. And that's not criticism. That's just it's New England, man. It's the Patriot way, and you guys and Coach Belichick had a certain way of doing things, and guess what? You won. You won a lot. Guys would take pay cuts to win a lot. I mean, there's we versus me, and that's how I look at New England. I go to Tampa, and I really like Bruce Arians, and he'd be awesome to have a beer with and go play 9 or 18 with. But I would liken it to spring break, versus I don't know, military school, okay, with New England. And those are my comparison. Those are my words, not yours. That said, what do you think about the dynamic for Brady going from a New England to a Tampa? And great, you win it year 1 in Tampa, but then for them to come out like they did against the Rams, that didn't seem like they were real prepped, and that doesn't sound a lot like Tom Brady to me. I think that might be sticking in his craw.
I would completely agree with you. You got to remember, Tom spent so many years here in New England where it was so detail oriented, and you knew your schedule. What days of the week you're going to do third down, what days of the week you're going to go over goal line and short yardage, and those routines were stuck to. Guys came in, and I certainly know while I was here, I knew a day of the week what we were going to go over, and you knew every detail of that game situation. And I don't know, I'm not going to speak for anybody in Tampa as we were talking about. I don't know exactly if they're that detail oriented that we were here. I mean, that's the reports we hear, is that it's a little bit more loose in Florida, but I'm going to tell you what, you can win either way. And we certainly over the years in pro football, we've seen teams of all different calibers with different coaching styles and things like that win championships. So certainly you can win any which way. I don't know if that's probably Tom's favorite way to win, because he is so detail oriented, and he knows, timing is everything for him, and he's so detail oriented when it comes to routes and position and where receivers need to be and how his offense operates. So, maybe, and you might be right. I kind of got the same sense as you that was a little bit that didn't end the way he wanted it to. And that might be hanging in there, and maybe he says, you know what, maybe we can change this and that. I'll come back again and make another run at it one more time, and at least we'll get to do it on the level that I'm expecting it to be. And maybe that's how he views it. So there's certainly, I'm hoping he doesn't retire, because I just love watching him. But that could absolutely be the way, but who knows? It'll be interesting to see.
I think he still has good ball left. I mean, when it's time to walk away, and he's still at a high level, Russ.
I will tell you this. A lot of the guys, when I came in the league, the old saying was, when you think you need to retire, play 2 more years and then retire. Okay. So I hope he plays till 47, because if you look at the numbers, that he put up, is unbelievable. I mean, he's an MVP caliber at his age. He's doing something no one's ever thought was going to happen, and it's pretty amazing. So it's not a physical thing for him as far as the ability to deliver the ball, timing, pick up pressures and things like that. I'm sure there's a lot of wear and tear with hits and things like that. But again, it's not the Peyton Manning, my arm fell off a cliff situation. So he's throwing the ball at a great clip. So I don't think physically you're worried. And even if he played half of what he normally is if he can go out and run a game, he can still win you a game. So that to me is not even to be talked about. Physically, you can do it. I think we've all seen that. Now I think it's the mental game and what you got to put up with and what you got to do. And if you said, he's bugged by details and how practices are run, maybe that's the other part of that we don't see.
Couple more minutes. Russ Hochstein with us. Russ, your thoughts here? A lot of Nebraska connections with Cincinnati, Zac Taylor, and Cincinnati doing the improbable, and that's going into Arrowhead. You played a couple of years with the Chiefs. You know what that home field's like. And they got it done, man. And Joe Burrow, the Nebraska connection with the Burrow family, of course. So a lot of happy Husker fans for the Zac Taylor-Joe Burrow combo. What do you think of Cincy? And specifically, what do you think of Zac Taylor in year 3 doing what he's done?
I think Zac Taylor is blown open his expectations. The guy has walked in there, went through a tough injury year last year, brought in Joe Burrow, and this kid's got some swag, and he is fun to watch. And I thought they were almost all completely done in the second quarter, and the Chiefs had a chance to go kind of put the nail in the coffin right before half.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen, and wow, what a change happened. And I played in Kansas City, and I love Kansas City, and my kids, one of their favorite teams. Arrowhead is a special place, and it was the wind was completely, when that pick happened and a couple turnovers and things, it was amazing to see how Cincinnati mounted that comeback again to do what they did, and my hat's off to them, man. Those guys fought, scrapped. Showed up and made some big plays at big times. And Joe Burrow was in the center of that. So I give him all the credit in the world, and it is going to be fun to watch them in the Super Bowl. So I thought it was an amazing, fun game. We've had 2 unbelievable weeks in the NFL watching football and how these games are coming down to the wire and, what it takes to win. And again, we go to the detail talk, the little things in situational football, who wins games. And Cincinnati had it in them. Unfortunately, the Chiefs looked like they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and kind of gave them an opening, and then they just ran with it. But amazing football to watch all the way around.
Like what you hear, high-quality radio and podcast is part of what we do at Hail Varsity. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to offer listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce, 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Russ Hochstein with us, 2-time Super Bowl champ with New England, 12 years in the NFL, time with the Chiefs and Broncos, and of course, 7 years with Tom Brady in New England. Russ, you had a great offensive line with Nebraska. You and Raiola and Finoti, I remember that line well, covering you guys in college. And you were mean, you were nasty, and could run the football on anyone. It's not Dominic, but a Donovan running the Husker offensive line now. What are you hoping for? What do you expect from Nebraska's O-line as the Big Red try and take that next step and find postseason here in year 5 for Coach Frost?
I'm excited for him. There is one thing, and I know the season, being a Husker fan, I was watching the same games you guys were, and it's tough that we were a little bit snake bitten, and we were in every game, we were competing, and one thing I take away from it is the improvement that has come year after year, slowly but surely. It's a steady direction. I'm hoping that continues. I think Donovan will be a big aid and help. I think they have gotten better as a unit, definitely overall. The whole line has. And like you kind of touched on earlier, I just hope that mean, nasty streak kind of comes in there and play, but smart, mean, and nasty. We don't need a bunch of penalties because God knows that we've had plenty of those, but we need to, continue to improve on that area, and put a guy in the pocket who can throw the ball and deliver the ball, dink and dunk if he needs to, but really keep the guy upright and protect. And I think this team can go in the right direction going ahead, and I think Donovan can help them do that, certainly. And it'll be fun to watch. I'm excited every year, but I'm hoping we see another step forward next year and can kind of turn the ship around a little bit.
Were you guys made mean and nasty by Milt and Dan, or did you come in mean and nasty? I mean, I know everyone's personality is different, but as a unit, I look at that 1999 line, and you guys finished number 2 in the country, 12-1. You guys were impressive, and the thing too is you guys weren't asked to go kill it and be great true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. You guys were seasoned and developed for a couple of years, weren't you, before you got thrown in?
Well, absolutely. Dom played at an early age. Dominic was good enough and physical enough to play at an early age, so he got to play early on. I redshirted and then didn't, until the next year after that. But I'll tell you, when you go back and look at those, we built depth in the system, and I think Scott's doing that between the walk-on program and what you do and keeping the amount of kids you can on a roster. Building that walk-on program is a huge key. It builds competition within your own program. It gets guys to develop, get stronger in the weight room, put on a little weight, they grow, they mature, and that helps your football team. And I hope we're starting to see some of that coming forward out of that. And, like you said about the mean and nasty thing, there was a culture around our team, and some of it goes to the D-line side back when the Lauren Kaisers, the Peter brothers, those guys, it was a competition, and week in and week out and day in and day out in practice with those guys. They hated to lose. We hated to lose. And that kind of developed as a team culture. And I certainly can't speak for anybody there now and how they're doing things now, but I know that's what made us so competitive. And the word mean and nasty kind of came out of that because it just was the refuse to lose kind of situation. We hated it. And we thought we were better than everybody. And we thought we were actually better practicing every week against the best guys in the country. And that made us that much better. We weren't worried about if we could just play our game, we'd win games and not worry about our competition outside. It was because we wanted to compete so much against our own teammates. And we believed really, truly that we were better than everyone at that time. And that culture takes time to put back in play and get it rolling again. And I'm hoping that's what they're doing.
Russ, best to you. Stay warm, de-thaw, dig out, and we'll talk again. Appreciate your insight on the NFL and the Huskers, bud.
Absolutely, you guys. Enjoy the tropics of Nebraska right now.
Tropics it is, and this was pretty good on Twitter from Troy. Troy's like, look, he tweets in, old lineman Russ is in New England. He's a Nebraskan, Hardington, and he's probably out there scooping in an old jersey, pushing the snowblower like it's a defensive lineman. Russ is probably not I should have asked him. He's not wearing sleeves. You talk about 24 feet of snow. No thanks, but good for him having the kids out there doing the manual labor.
Well, no, you don't wear the sleeves. It's an intimidation thing. For your neighbors who are seeing you out there in no sleeves. And like, man, I'm not going to mess with this neighbor. Like, I don't care how loud his dogs are. Like, I'm not going to go knock on his door and complain. That's number one. And number two,
that's my problem. Is I've never lifted a shovel yet, and my dogs keep the neighborhood awake.
And then number two, though, it's intimidation for the weather. It's like letting Mother Nature know, hey, don't come around here no more. You ain't scaring me.
So did you wear sleeves in high school?
It depends how much playtime I was getting in the game.
I see.
If you're out in the field,
so you
it's not
checked
that
with
bad.
Coach Cotula, hey, am I starting today?
It depends what the game plan was.
You were that guy asking,
No.
Hey, Coach, am I going to get in because am I going to go long sleeve, long john, or not?
If they threw me in the walkthrough, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going with the sleeves. If I wasn't in the walkthrough the day before the game, I am firmly wearing the long sleeves. I'm wearing the turtleneck
sweatshirt,
too.
Right, you're doing the old 70s turtleneck look. Did you Vaseline up?
No. What would the point of that be?
I think that's what linemen do is you put Vaseline on your arms to keep warm if you're going sleeveless.
See, I can see that from the perspective of a D lineman not wanting to get held. Like you don't want them to slide off. But like, no, I was never a pro wrestler or anything like that. I didn't need to be oiled up before a game.
Our friend Greg emails in, Chris@HaleVarsity.com. This goes back to hour one. Did Elijah just say local cats? Back when you were talking your baseball preview. Did Mario rub off on him? I don't know where Super Mario's at. I kind of miss the gangster cigar look. Now, cigars, and the best picture on Twitter this weekend was Jimmy Burrow and Jimmy Chase, Jamar's dad and Joe's dad, out in the Chiefs parking lot having a smoky treat, having a big old cigar, because that's Joe's thing, man. It's Victory Cigar, and he's got Mixon doing it. He's got the Whiteouts doing it.
Well, did you see the reporters that were out at Arrowhead yesterday said there was just cigar smoke pouring out of the locker room in the postgame?
I bet. Absolutely. And I just wonder if somebody that was disgruntled within the Chiefs organization tried to pull an NCAA where there's no smoking in here, tried to get him. Because you remember after the LSU title game, They went around and told the LSU kids to put out the smoke. And no, I will not put out my cigar. I can't do cigars, man. I could do them, and then I'd be on a respirator the next day with my lungs. But I like them. I liked them when I was younger.
See, I was always more into to pipe tobacco. However,
your brother's a pipe guy.
But my uncle's a pipe guy. My brother's a pipe guy.
He showed up to the Oklahoma tailgate, and he had his Hemingway pipe going. He's just that stuff is all that. We had some old neighbor that we delivered papers to, and he had the pipe, right, the old Howard Schnellenberger pipe, where you loaded it in, and he's probably wearing a corduroy, I don't know, blazer, right? Mm-hmm. And he's reading literature. He's got a desk, and he's educated, and he's got the pipe going, and that stuff always smelled good. It smelled like vanilla.
Yeah, and the best thing is you can go get like an ounce of the pipe tobacco for like $4, $5. It's incredible.
Look at you promoting smoking to America's youth. We'll wind down on Monday next.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks to Coach McBride to kick off this hour. Russ Hochstein, awesome to get his perspective on if Tom Brady is actually retiring or not, and the NFL playoffs with the two-time Super Bowl champ with New England, 12-year NFL vet, also a former Chief. And then Greg Smith all over recruiting. We'll have plenty of coverage and thoughts on signing day Wednesday, tomorrow, a Tuesday with Kaz. Rick Kaczynski will join us. Mitch Sherman also with us, and then working on a surprise for tomorrow. So we're 50-50 on that surprise. We'll leave it there. So not only is Joe Burrow in rarefied air, number 1 pick overall, national championship quarterback, going to the Super Bowl year 2, but he has pulled off what every 8-year-old thinks is the best news. Not just coming from behind, but school in all of Cincinnati has been called off the day after the Super Bowl. People are partying and happy in Cincinnati anyway. But now, I mean, you want to talk about a kid's favorite player? Forget the performance. Dude got school called off, not due to weather, but due to just the sheer hope of celebration.
Well, did you see the petition that got over 100,000 signatures to move the Super Bowl to Saturday?
That's there. I still think it's Sunday.
There's too much around the Super Bowl Sunday term. It's been in the public's
you need your 8-hour pregame, right? Well, you don't, but you do. And you know whether it becomes a national holiday or not, we're still here the Monday after. Now, there are some Super Bowl Mondays where there was a lot of Don Draper Alka-Seltzer with all of our ESPN Super Bowl parties on location. We had a hell of a good time, a better time than a lot of the games turned out to be. Aside from the Seattle New England Super Bowl.
No, that was a good one.
With the Russell Wilson pick in the end zone.
Don't even talk about the Denver Broncos snap over the head against the Seahawks.
Yeah,
Stay the hell away.
Junior and Mama weren't real happy with the Seattle New England one. They loved the Denver one. And then there was also Denver's win with Peyton.
Incredible over the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean that was big. That was a beatdown. That was Von Miller, baby.
Yeah, one of the best defensive performances in a Super Bowl ever.
So the question is the day after, that Monday after the Super Bowl, should it be a national holiday? Something to ponder, something to think about. Also, Michigan, the line is out, and the Fighting Juwan Howards are 14.5-point favorites tomorrow night with an 8 o'clock tip. we'll see how Nebraska rebounds, responds. You know, Bryce is playing at a high level. Trey's been a difference maker. What else happens? Does Kobe bounce back? Do you get Verge back?
It's expected that Verge is going to be back in the lineup based on what I've seen today.
Yeah.
He's dealing with family tragedy.
He is, and that sucks, man. Verge has been a pinata this year, and kid's got some amazing skill. You hope he can settle in and go, you know, pay tribute. I know he'll want to play for that family member that's gone, and you hope you get a better performance from Kobe. Back tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity. Find the podcast. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. Want your feedback. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Thanks for tuning in.
A Hurrdat Media Production.